Hi, welcome to this next video. This time we're going to actually create a PWA, so that might be a bit different for you. We're going to follow along on level 2. We're assuming that you've already gone through the first few levels and created a static website. So all we're really going to do is convert our static website into a PWA. So really a PWA revolves around a manifest.json file and a service worker. So if we have a look here, for many websites that you visit, you'll quite often see like a web browser here and a web server here. The front end is all on the local machine, and there's a back end here. We're only still doing the front end, okay? So this PWA is only front end stuff. There's no database or anything like that. So that's what we're aiming to do. So we need to create a manifest.json file. We need to create a service worker. We need to link them up into our index.html. And then we actually need to use some sort of web server, but we'll look at that a bit later. Just to give you an example of what we're looking at here, I'll bring over something interesting. So what I've actually done is I've created this level 2. I've copied it over onto GitHub in such a way that GitHub is actually acting as a web server. And so when I click on this link here, what you'll see is that my website is coming across. This is level 2 now. It's coming across, and most importantly, and what we're aiming for a PWA, is this little symbol here. So this symbol here, what it does is when you click it, or when you hover over it, it says install my PWA. If I click on it, it'll bring up this dialog box and I go install. And then it actually comes up as an application. And in fact, my PWA is now an application. If I go into Windows here and I type in my, it should come up in the list of installed applications, I think. Might take a little while. Yeah, there it is there, right? It's my PWA there as an application. And to get rid of it, I actually have to uninstall it from my computer, which is what I might do now. So I'll go add, remove, and I'll just get rid of it. Just have to wait for this to come up, my PWA. A little bit slow to bring the list up. This one here, uninstall. And so I want to remove this application. And so that's what a PWA actually is, this thing that can install itself that you get from a website. That's effectively it. And it was that little box over here on the top right, that's what we're looking for. So, pardon me. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully you've already fired up Visual Studio Code. You've got where we were up to before, which is, I might close that off. We've got a solution. We've got an attempt folder. In the attempt folder so far, we've just got level 1. I'm going to create a new folder called level 2. And it seems like I've put all my files, instead of level 1, I've put them just in my attempt. So we'll move them up here. No, this is not working too well. Cancel. So let me just tidy this up. Okay, so I've sorted this out. What I've got now is I've got my attempt level 1, and then I've got an empty folder level 2. So basically all of these ingredients I need for my level 2. So I'm going to highlight them all. I'm going to control drag and click, and they've been copied into the next folder. So the next thing we're going to need to do is we are going to have to, let me get my checklist here. We are going to create a manifest.json file. So we might do that. So up here, I'm going to create a manifest. So the spelling of these matters. If you get them wrong, then the programs won't work. The other thing we need is a service worker.js file. Make that as well. Okay, so we've got 2 empty files at the moment, and we need to populate them. So let's get the details. and manifest.json. That's that one. Okay, Alt-Shift-A if you've got remove blank lines installed and set up. And this one, service worker. Great, Alt-Shift-A. And once again, that's working well. Okay, and finally, when we go back here, we can see that we've actually got to put a link in our index. So we're going to do that, index.html, and we put it in the header section. Alt-Shift-A, and that all looks good. And really, at this point, it's enough to test what we've done. There's one more thing missing, actually, and that is a big icon. So the big icon is something that you may have actually produced when you produced your favicon, but I am just going to copy it from the solution folder. I'm going to go right click copy, and then just copy that into level 2, paste. Okay, so now we've got a big icon. So now we should have all the files. I think this should say we're all pretty much set. It talks here about a web server. So we can run a web server on this computer, but for our short-term just testing purposes, what we'll do is we will close everything down and we'll just preview the index. And you can see here what we have is that symbol that we're looking for. It's coming from 127, which is great. Another thing you can do for testing purposes is if you open up I think it's Shift Control I, yes, okay, and then go to Network and then refresh the screen. And you can see if you've got error messages or not. It looks like we've got an error message here. I'm not sure what that's from. I might go and have a quick look at my code. This is wrong. So I'll change that in the website. So the early version of the website had a slash there and it shouldn't have been there. So let's just do a refresh. Hopefully Shift Control R. Sometimes when you do a refresh, by the way, and this is a good tip, when you do a refresh of your screen, so normally you just hit this thing. A couple of things you can do. One is if you really want to be super careful, you can right click over here and go clear browser cache, clear all cookies, and that'll get everything really refreshed. And then over on this screen over here, do a Shift Control R. And what Shift Control R means is don't use any cached information. Otherwise, sometimes you can change your web page, but it will load the old version. So Shift Control R is a really good sort of tip. And then I look down here, these are all old ones, but all the new stuff is loading up okay. So I know that this thing is ready to install. So I've been successful creating a PWA. And that's it really. PWAs are actually relatively simple. So now we should have level 1, level 2, all complete, and you should be able to create your own simple web page, static or with local storage, as we'll look at in the next lesson. And you should be able to install them on your computer. When you've finished using them, you can uninstall them by going in here and typing in add remove and then removing the program. So hopefully that was useful and a bit interesting for you. And next lesson, we'll be looking at making our application just a little bit more complex. What we want to do is we'll want to turn it into an application that uses local storage, but we'll handle that in the next lesson. See you then.